Bread with Tom Hartman for October 22nd, 2025. I don't know why I keep forgetting the year. I know what year it is, 2025. Today, it's going to be a pretty crypto heavy episode. But not because of the Bitcoin cycle or buying if it's topped or bottomed or anything like that, but because of what we've been talking about over the last few weeks, which is the messaging that's coming out from the powers that be, not just from the US administration, but also throughout financial institutions around the world, both in pop culture, in media, in press conferences, in tours, in Fed meetings, and so on and so forth, where it really looks like there's a rejiggering to the financial system, a major change to the financial system on par with the removal of the gold standard in 1971 or the creation of the world reserve currency after World War II. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's start with what's been going on behind the scenes on Twitter today. Sorry, X today. So first off, we want to start off with the Bank of England's governor warns that U.S. private equity turmoil echoes the 2008 subprime crisis. This comes from Gold Telegraph. So the Bank of England governor is warning of recent turmoil, and they're seeing signs of weakness. We don't have to go through those signs. We've seen that in the jobs market. We've seen that inside of the currency space. We've seen that with low liquidity and repo rates. There's a problem with the flow of dollars around the world, which is, of course, the U.S. main job. Keep those dollars flowing, even if it requires hollowing out your country, do that. And with a populist president, mandate for changing or shrinking the the spread between those who have and those who have not. However, he's doing this. This seems to be causing it could be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and it's causing the house of cards that of debt that the system is built on to be wobbling some. And so now we saw Christine Lagarde yesterday go on Face the Nation. That was crazy, talking about the weakening of the dollar and maybe the loss of the reserve status. That's what she was implying. And here we have the Bank of England governor saying something similar. Moving on, this was a post in Bloomberg brought to us by Spencer Hakimian on X. It says the Bank of America warns of forced stock selling if credit problems persist. This is tying together the two things, right? The credit system, the liquidity system, the availability of dollars, which is what credit is, the availability of debt, and stocks. And if you watched anything on the Secret Profit channel, you know that we're a big fan of not only knowing who are the buyers or sellers of different assets, but also who are the forced buyers and forced sellers. This comes from Carlson, who's done a great job of explaining the positioning and the motivation behind large participants within the market. So if there's forced selling, well, stocks go down, but not only do stocks go down, but also the derivative space needs to be sold too. Puts become more expensive. Hedging against the downside becomes more expensive. The market makers are there in order to they have to supply this volatility, these sort of options and derivatives. So then they have to hedge in the markets, and the markets go down even more. It's a vicious cycle that can end with a pretty big crash. Think COVID 2020. Moving on here, this is another piece of weakening news within the markets. So, U.S. Treasury buys back a whopping 1.9 billion of its own debt. So this is not the first time we've seen this, where there's not enough demand within the Treasury auctions, and so the a buyer comes in and purchases the bonds. We were seeing secret bond purchases before in the billions of dollars, and now we have the U.S. Treasury buying it back. So that one that speaks to the idea that these treasuries do need to be purchased, like they do need to be bought, and also if they don't buy them, well then interest rates will go up higher because that's the price of money. The interest rate, if no one wants the bonds, then they have to offer a higher and higher and higher interest rate until someone actually does want to buy it, and so that's where the U.S. Treasury might come in or the Fed might come in, buy the bonds in order to keep a ceiling on interest rates. Not something you expect in a healthy economy. You expect in a healthy economy that people will want to buy bonds, but here we are. Does that mean that tomorrow the markets will crash? Yes. No, I don't know. I don't know if tomorrow will crash, but it is a cracking of the ice beneath us. All right, so the next two here, this has to do with this is the whole Bitcoin thing. So I thought this was particularly interesting. Someone asked Tucker Carlson at an event recently what he thought about Bitcoin, and it's important for me, or it's very useful for me to see what contrarians think in the space, especially vocal people, about how they see Bitcoin. And I thought the angle that he had here was pretty interesting. So this comes from Bitcoin News on X, who says that New Tucker Carlson says he's a hard no on Bitcoin, claiming it was created by the CIA and call himself a gold person. I fear it'll become a scam run by financial elites and politicians to tighten control over society. Nobody can tell me who Satoshi is. I grew up in a CIA family. So let's listen to a little bit of this.
A lot of great things. Do you invest in Bitcoin? Do you think it's like a viable asset to invest in?
Oh, man, I don't want to make more enemies. I mean, you want the real, it's my last answer, but you want the actual answer?
Yeah, sure.
And here's why. I spoke at the Bitcoin conference actually last year. I've spoken at a couple of Bitcoin conferences. I love the idea of Bitcoin because I love the idea of financial autonomy. I don't want what I buy or sell to be tracked. I don't want my money to be tracked. It's nobody's business. I pay my taxes. I've never cheated on my taxes. I've been very tempted, but I never have one time cheated on my taxes. And once the money's mine, like I can do what I want with it. And if you find me breaking the law, arrest me. But if you don't, it's none of your beeswax, as the kids say. So I love the idea of the blockchain. I knew some of the people involved in that whole thing. And I still believe in that promise, okay? Roger Ver, for example. I don't know how closely do you follow this, but like, there are people who still believe in that. But it turns out that it is not, to this point, been, I hope it will be, a way to conduct financial transactions privately at all. And that really freaks me out. I'm really afraid of a digital currency because that is totalitarian control. If you can punish people, if you can zero out their bank account and keep them from eating, you will have total obedience. Like, that's totalitarian. And I know that young people love crypto because they've been completely screwed in the job market and there are no financial opportunities for most of them. And they know they're staring down a life of, if not poverty, certainly a step down from the way they grew up, most young people. And so Bitcoin for them, crypto in general for them, is a promise of like, how can I make it in this world? Like, I would like to have a normal life. How can I do that? And crypto is a way they think that they can. And I'm praying for them. I hope that's true. But I fear that it will become like so many other things in our country, a scam of sorts, run by a coalition of the financial beneficiaries, like a few people who are getting all the winnings, and the politicians they control who use it to further their control of American society. I'm really worried about that. And so I'll just be totally blunt with you. I'm a gold buyer, and I've been vindicated big time in that. And everyone's like, oh, you're crazy, buying gold. Yeah. You know, it was good enough for the Phoenicians. It's good enough for me. And I, in general, don't get involved in anything I don't understand. I think that's a really good rule. There's some things I think I understand. It turns out I didn't understand them. But in general, I try to limit myself to things I understand. And nobody can explain to me who Satoshi was, the creator of Bitcoin, this mysterious guy who apparently died, but nobody knows who he was. You know, I grew up in DC primarily, in a government family, so CIA. That's my guess. Can't prove it, but like, you're telling me to invest in something whose founder is like mysterious and has billions of dollars of unused Bitcoin. Like, what is that? And no one can answer the question, including some of the biggest holders of Bitcoin in the world. Do I know personally? They're like, oh, it doesn't matter. It matters to me, right?
All right, so a couple of things there, which I find to be very interesting. The first part is the idea that he doesn't like Bitcoin because it could be a intelligence agency plot in order to, or powers that be plot in order to take advantage of people, of siphoning more wealth to those at the top. Here's the thing: whether or not that's the plan, or whether or not it turns into that, I think that's inevitable. I think corruption is what exists within the system, and you need something that revivifies the system and allows a churn of the people in power, so that we have a chance of eking out steps forward, progress forward, in the way that us, the small people, think that progress can be made, both socially, economically, and at a government level. Plus, the existing system that we're in right now, an existing system that Tucker Carlson professes to love, the United States, is built in the same idea, right? It's the same sort of idea that it's a lesser form of decentralization, a lesser form of what crypto is, but it was a step towards the crypto process. And if you're okay with if you don't wake up at night, in cold sweats because of the Treasury market, or debt collateralization, or fractional reserve banking systems, or consolidation of banks to as they get less and less community banks and all this sort of thing, I go, well, this is the devil you know. Why are you worried about? You're worried about the devil that you don't know. Totally understand that. However, on the other side of it, I do think that the more flexible, the more novel, the more pervasive the technology becomes, the less able a centralized authority is controlling it. And it's sort of like a Trojan horse type situation, where the adoption of a technology like this could be exactly the thing where the powers that be think that they are getting one over on people actually ends up being the Frodo's ring that demolishes the whole thing. So that might be Pollyanna, that might be naive, but I'm a father, I'm a husband, I have a family to raise, and I'd rather be optimistic in that sense, that this thing that smells like a type of freedom actually does have freedom components inside of it. And if it turns out to be a rug pull, if it turns out to be a Ponzi scheme, if it turns out to be an intelligent agency plot, there'll be a whole generation of people, at the very least, that might have that memory of what it was, and then aim for something better. But who knows? But I thought that video from Tucker Carlson was very interesting. Just as interesting as this next one. So this last one comes from Santiago Capital. This is Brent Santiago, who is putting out a video, a series on his website about the rise of stablecoins. So let's hear what he has to say, the first part of this.
Every few generations, it seems the world changes, not always with a bang, not always with a crash, sometimes with nothing but a whisper. And by the time most people notice, it's already happened. Today, we believe one of those moments is unfolding right now in front of our eyes. Only this time, it's not gold, it's not crypto, it's not even the central banks. It's something far bigger, far quieter. Hi, I'm Brent Johnson with Santiago Capital. We've spent the last few months digging into what we believe is a monetary revolution, and it's hiding in plain sight. It's technical, it's complicated, and yet it's already reshaping trust, value, and how power moves through the global economy. We call it the rise of US dollar stablecoins. Now, before you tune out thinking this is just another crypto story, I assure you it absolutely 100% is not. This is not about speculative memes or digital coins or the next digital trend. It's about the architecture of money itself, the invisible plumbing that underpins our markets, our governments, and domestic sovereignty itself. For decades, we've all lived inside a monetary order that felt clearly defined, if sometimes uneasy. And it was predictable, maybe even boring. But history teaches us that no system lasts forever. Every financial empire is eventually rewired.
Okay.
Either willingly or unwillingly.
Nature of that, and that's what we're going through right now. Very interesting. You guys go to my Twitter account at Sacred Profit in order to see the full video, get links to all the different topics from today. And it might be very much worthwhile for you to go see the rest of that video and visit the website in order to see what he has to offer. I have to say the stablecoins is, as I believe A16Z said, Mark Andreessen's company, in their latest state of crypto for 2025, that stablecoins really is the killer app. Stablecoins is a magic key that allows the printing of currency and liquidity and spread globally. It's a way of making money out of nothing, a new type of thing. People will look back on this very much like when people learned about the fractional reserve system. What do you mean I could, if I deposit money inside of a bank, that's actually not considered a deposit, it's considered a loan? What does that mean that the money that I deposit can be used in a fractional way in order to generate new credit on top of that, 5, 10, 15, 16 times on top of that? What do you mean that the entire system is built on debt, and that if the debt layer gets kicked out, you get a major crisis that can rock the world? Well, stablecoins seems to be a nice coup de grace on top of all of that, or pièce de résistance. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what stablecoins do in the future, and what that will mean. You know, will we be able to buy and sell? But for having the mark of the stablecoin, I don't know. But it also opens up the idea that individuals or small institutions can issue stable coins of various different kinds, and maybe the very same rails that are used in order to distribute a new level of control on the population ends up being the exact thing that we need in order to wrest control forevermore. All right, that's it for Daily Bread for today. We'll be back tomorrow, as always, with another market update. Have a great day.